Okay, so we're going to continue working on our Space Invaders project. So at this point, we've got a little dancing spaceship going across the bottom of our screen. And you should have hopefully drawn your alien. If you haven't, you kind of go back and reference the previous lesson that I shared with you. And then what we're going to do now is we're going to actually start to kind of expand on our game. One thing I wanted to just kind of go over, though, and something I've shared as well, is, if I can find it, this is a tool right here that I made that we can use to draw our own graphics. And so once it loads here, what we can do is it's going to give in like a grid size. So like here we've done 8x8 graphics, and so we can kind of draw some sort of 8x8 graphic, and then here it's going to output it as either a hex array or a binary array. And so these are equivalent to each other. You can use either, and then it has the grid dimensions there for you. And then we can also make it a little bit bigger, so maybe 12 by 12. So there's no kind of fast rule on what size graphics. Just remember that as you increase the number of pixels, the amount of memory required for the image increases as well. And so you could think of each of these pixels as like a bit. And so 12 times 12 is 144, whereas 8 times 8 is 64, right? So we've more than doubled, I think it's, what did I say, 144? Yeah. So we've more than doubled our memory usage by increasing it to 12 by 12. And so that's just something to think about. We're good now, but if you start to have a bunch of really big graphics, or if we were going to try to do like multicolored graphics, then this would get, we'd end up with some really large arrays here that would start to cause some problems. So anyway, we can draw a quick little alien ship though, and we'll go with the 12 by 12 here. So maybe we'll do something like this. Kind of like Space Invader style alien. Really doesn't look like we need 12 by 12. Let's see, is that good? That's probably good. And then let's use the full space. So it's like this, and then the eye right there. Something doesn't look right. Okay, there we go. So there's our little alien. So actually we'll make this to be 12 by 10. Okay, and so now we can copy this straight in. And we're going to replace our alien ship. And so I just got alien ship. Okay. Then we come down here, and when we draw it, now it is 12 by 10 instead of 8 by 8. And so we got to update that size to match what we did. And so now we can run it. And we'll see our alien ship. Doesn't render very well on this tiny little display, but that's kind of interesting actually. It'll look better like on the actual display. This is some aliasing issues with the just the simulation. Oh, there it goes. Yeah, with the simulation. So there's our little alien. And so now we're gonna, anyway, this is a pretty useful tool. You can clear it out. You can draw something else, and then you can copy them, whether you want the binary or the hex. Okay, so anyway, coming back to this though, so we've got our alien drawn. I'll probably go back and make a smaller alien maybe. I don't know. I'm going to leave it like that for now. And so we're going to come back here to our main code, and I'll put my new alien here as well. And so here it's uint8t, unsigned 8-bit integer, unsigned char, actually is the same type as that. And then let's come down to here, and we'll update this to be 12 by 10. Okay, So now we're going to expand our game a little bit. And so in Space Invaders, you have a bunch of aliens dancing across the screen. And so we want to make a bunch of aliens dancing across the screen. We also have the spaceship, and then we can shoot like little laser bullets or something at the aliens. And so what we're going to do that will help us out here is, before we go too much further, we're going to make a tool that we can use to basically track all of these objects as well as render them for us. And so we're going to make a class, and we'll call it game. What are we going to call it? Let's see. Okay, so we're going to call our class game object. And then the Arduino convention is for header files to be .h and for the implementation files to be .cpp. And so let's go, I'm not sure why that is. Include guards, so game object underscore h, define game object underscore h. Okay, and so now we're going to make our class game object. And then we're going to have public members and private members. Okay. And then what we need to do now is build a constructor. So game object constructor. And so this is how we initialize a game object. And so our game object should have a width, a height. Do you see I'm getting these errors here? So this is these types, you need to include a library to define them. And so in this case, we want the Arduino library. And that will take care of that. Okay, so we got a width, and then we also want a uint 8t pointer and graphic. And so this is be that, and then we're going to have a, let's also have a we need to have, each object is going to have a position. So we need to have a position. And so I'm using these 8-bit ints because they're smaller and they use less space. But remember, these can only hold up to between 0 and 255. And so if you had a larger display, you would need to use probably a bigger variable, like a 16-bit integer instead. But for this purpose, it'll work fine. So we need x. What should we call this? X position and then y position. Okay, so now we have positions. So we're going to have a move vertically function to move our object up and down. And we'll have a int direction. And then we'll have a void move horizontally. And that will take care of that. And we'll implement these later. And so this will allow us to change the x position and the y position. So x position plus equal direction times, you know what we need to have as well as a speed. So uint 8t speed. Speed. Okay. And then what this will do is, so this is which way we're going to go, and this is how much it moves, basically, each movement. And so we'll do the same thing for the move vertically function, and we'll use this later when we're trying to move these objects around. And we're going to have to make some changes, because we're going to have to kind of bound these, right? And that'll be something to think about. And so the game object, though, is going to get a height. And actually, let's try to sort of replicate the prototype for the draw bitmap, right? So we have X, Y, and then, so we're going to use the X position, the Y position, the char array, the what else do we have here? And then this was the width and the height. Okay, and so this is now taking up a lot of space, so we'll kind of wrap this around. And then when we assign these values, there's a couple ways we could do it. And what we're going to do is this. And I will say that I don't usually write C++ very much, so I'll probably do this wrong. Okay, so we put this colon here, and then we can actually initialize these things here. So we're going to say, we're going to initialize the graphic as graphic. Or no, we called it bitmap. Let's change this to be graphic right here. And then we'll go ahead and initialize all these guys. So width. And so what this is doing is it's taking this value and initializing this value. And so when we create a theme object class, it will assign all these values for us. So height and height. X position, X position, and then we'll go Y position, Y position. Okay. And so now we got all those initialized. We probably want to have also a let's go ahead and verify this and see if it gives me a problem. Okay, I think we're good. We probably also want to create an instance of a display. And so what we're going to do here is this, and we can use this for rendering. And so we will grab this and stick it here. Okay. And then we will snag this. And what we're going to do here is we're going to grab a reference. And what that means is we're going to, instead of making a copy of this, we're going to get the existing one. And we'll see if we'll do some testing to see if this works. To make sure we get the so we can use it without making a new one. And so all the objects will have access to this for rendering. Okay, so that looks like we're done here. Okay, so now we can try testing it out. And then so we're just going to have add a draw function. And then what this will do is it will allow us to render. So we'll grab this. And then it's a 16-bit 565. Okay, we'll have that. We'll have to figure out what the right type is for the color, but we'll pass the color in here. And then this is the so the width, the height, the graphic, and then we have X position, and we have Y position. Okay, and so now we've got this built. We have a tool to render it. Let's see if this works with the color. Okay, looks like that works. Okay, and so now what we can do is come over to here, and we're going to import our library. So include gameObject.h, and so now we're going to try making a game object space ship. And so what we're going to do here, go like this. And so there's a couple ways you could do these constructors. I'm going to make sure I'm doing it right here. And so equals game object. We'll go like this. Yep, we'll do it like this actually. Okay. And so we want to use all of this. And so we're going to use this to test out to make sure this all works. Okay, and then once this is done, we can really start to build the game around this point. Okay, so we want the starting position. So we have that spaceship at 10 and 55. So we're going to say 10, comma, 55. We'll use our spaceship graphic. And then we're going to say it has a width of 8 and a height of 8. Okay. It doesn't like this for some reason. Let's see, why does it like this? Let's try building. Okay, so it's giving us an error. Oh, we need to pass in the display. Then we'll say display. Okay, so that worked. It gave us some errors. It doesn't like this graphic. Probably doesn't like the way that we're doing this. We initialize after. Okay, we might run into some errors, so we might have to fix this later. But let's try it out. So we're going to hide, comment out this. Oh, you know what we need to add as well? Sorry, get ahead of myself. We need to also pass in the speed. We'll do the speed later. We'll set the default speed to 5. That's what we'll do. And then we'll do the rest of it later. Okay, this might be an issue. We'll deal with that later, if it is. Okay, and so now we're going to say spaceship dot draw. We'll send in the color white. Okay, and then what this will do is, so when we do this line right here, what it does is it makes it, basically creates this object and it initializes it here, okay, and assigns all those values to these variables. And then when we do the draw, it's going to execute this function here that's going to draw it on the screen. And now it's not going to work because we have some weird errors. And so we'll see what happens when we try to run this. Okay, so this all worked, but we did run into an issue. And so The reason why is because these are in the incorrect order. And so we want the order up here, and the order here, and the order down here to match. So what we're going to do is we're going to move these two to the top, like that. And so then we have graphic, width, height, display, and we're grabbing a reference to this, but we're actually storing it as an object. And so we need to put this down as a reference like this, okay? And so what this means is that this is not making a copy of this, it's actually just referencing it so that we use all the same one for all the objects. And let's see if this solves our problems. And it looks like it does, okay? So now, when you come to here, we can, instead of we have these objects now, so we're going to call this alien ship. We'll pass in the alien ship as an argument. We'll set our starting height. So we had 50 and 10. So 50 and 10, and then you'd set the size. So mine is, I think, 12 and 10. Okay. And then to draw our alien ship, we would just go like this. And so we didn't accomplish that much here, or at least it doesn't look like it from the surface, but we did some work that's going to allow us to build the rest of our game on top of this structure. So we run this, and it should work. And if I run it in the simulator, let's see if I can find it. Okay, so now you can see in the simulation we have our alien ship drawn right here, and our spaceship drawn right here, and both of them are using this new game object class that we made that we're going to use to kind of as the structure of the rest of our game. We'll have to do some additional work with these move functions, and that's kind of what we'll do next. We also want to be able to set the speed, how fast it moves, so that's what we'll tackle next, and then from there we'll go ahead and build out the rest of our alien fleet.